Right, it's continued to get more reaction, though, to this increase as far as Eskom is concerned. Can green energy reduce reliance on Eskom and stabilise the grid? Because we're always told, aren't we, if we can try and take the pressure off the grid, we could end up in a situation where Eskom can get some much-needed maintenance done. Is that really the case, though? Energy analyst Wido Schnabel joining us this morning. Hello to you again, Wido. Always good talking to you. And here we are again, a load-shedding stage 6. So do you think the 18.6% was justified? Wido, good morning.
Well, Eskom has asked for increases over the last years and hasn't get them. And the cost just rose for them, especially for the last year. The diesel that they've spent on powering some of our homes is enormous. And the cost for diesel is very high. So I think this is more of a catch-up. In general, I think the tariff in South Africa is still, compared to other countries, low. So we need to put it also in perspective. But, and that is where we're coming from on the green side, you can basically substitute your energy usage by not only using Eskom, the expensive Eskom, but use green energy. And solar is the one and the easiest to do. And if I look at installations and the return on investments on installations, we were in the past at 7.5 years, then at 5 years. Now it's even below 5 years with this tariff increase. So it's a matter of go to a solar installer, get yourself, even if it is only a few panels in the beginning, you don't need to go off-grid. Nobody wants you to go off-grid. But just get some energy production from the sun and lower your cost of your electricity bill every month. That's what
I'm sure you'll agree with me, though, Wido. I don't think anybody will argue about going the green energy aspect as well, though. But perhaps you can help me understand, because I've noticed this over the past few months. I understand the economy. I understand the markets around solar energy. It's supply and demand, of course. But solar power, even if it's a small 3 kVA system, is becoming so expensive the average household actually can't do it anymore. It's being priced out of the market. Is it really that expensive for these companies to bring these products in and install them? Or do you get a sense, as I'm sure many people do, tell me if you agree with me, I'm starting to get the sense that we're heading towards some price gouging. How worried should we be about this? Because the prices for these devices have jumped exponentially.
Yes, relatively, they have jumped a little bit in the last year, but they're busy coming down again, and that was because of supply shortage. And that is in a normal market. If you've got higher demand than you have got supply, then the prices will go up. Of course, there might be here and there some of them that take advantage now that everybody wants solar on their roofs and batteries. That those prices that they take advantage of that and charge you higher prices. But I can tell you that even though the prices are higher, they are much cheaper, or the electricity is much cheaper than that from Eskom. We had a grid parity at 2014. 2014 was the grid as expensive as a solar system. And since then, solar has come much, much, much cheaper. And, the grid prices have just climbed through the sky. So the question is that there is a little wobble in the market. Yes, it is a little bit higher because everybody wants to go green. Everybody wants to use now solar because it's cheap. But that increase isn't that dramatic as it sounds to be. I look at the per watt prices that we sell modules, for example, and they have gone up slightly in the last year or last 2 years, and that was due to cost in demand of the product, but that was only a small portion. Shipping cost was another portion that had an impact in that. So from that point of view, yes, they came up a little bit, but they're also on their way down at the moment. So I don't see the price being such a big problem. And Gareth, again, people talk about I want to get off grid, I want to get away from Eskom. That's not the real thing that we're asking to do. Because if we can share resources, it's always going to be cheaper and better than going it alone. And off-grid means you have to cater for all your eventualities. You have to build a big system, which is then expensive. You can spend 250, 300,000 rand, but you can just put a few panels up and just substitute some of your electricity usage from the sun and start with it. I've seen people that were talking to me and saying, Wido, you know, this solar thing doesn't work, until they put their first system in and they sat in front of that monitor and looked at the kilowatts coming into their house, and then they saw all of a sudden, wow, at the moment, everything comes from the sun, and I put electricity in the battery, I need to get more panels. So they put another 2-3 panels on, and that is really what I'm trying to say to people. Start small, just get it going, and you will see how much benefit you will have.
Let me ask this, Wido. So when we now start using these green energy systems, and I'm sure as the years go on and we continue to suffer along with blackouts, more and more people will get solar. Is there still an issue for those who have solar, they have surplus energy left in their batteries, to feed that back onto the grid? I know this was all the hype back in the day, putting power from our own individual private households back onto the grid. Is that something that's still being done? Because I'm not saying you need to listen to everything on social media. Some people are saying it's very difficult to get it done, and Eskom is wanting to charge you to put power back on the grid. How much truth is there in that? And can us as a country, if we all went solar, or as many as possible went solar, and put it back into the grid, could that make a difference? But how hard is it to actually get right?
It is very hard, and that's one of the low-hanging fruit we could pick up immediately. I'm asking that we really allow everybody to feed back into it and even support it. So at the moment on the Eskom grid, residential users are not allowed to feed back. There are some municipalities, City of Cape Town is one of them, that allows you, and they pay you also a certain amount. I think it's about R1.16 or something like that. There's a certain tariff that they pay you back. It's I think about 80 cents, and then there's a bonus or a special bonus that they pay you if you feed back. So it's possible, but it takes too long. The process is that you have to buy a bidirectional meter, which is quite expensive, about 10,000 rand. So all these things are driving against it, but there is a lot of energy. So I can give you an example. My battery at about 11:30, 12 o'clock is charged, and I've got a big battery, and I also charge my electric vehicle from that battery, by the way. So then I've got surplus energy, and it's really sad that I cannot push this back. Well, in Cape Town I can, and I will do it now, and a lot of people are doing that, but it should be allowed, and it should be supported entirely nationwide from Eskom, from all the municipalities. That is actually a low-hanging fruit. Just to give you a number, last year South Africa has installed roughly about 1.4 to 1.5 gigawatts of solar PV. Okay, so that is a huge amount. That's more than the REAP program does in any of their rounds so far. So if we can take that kind of surplus energy that is there, and yes, it might be only 10 megawatt hours per year on this house, which is a small installation. It might be 20 here, 30 there. It might be 100 from some of the bigger houses, or from the industrial and commercial installations. So if we can take all of that back and ask them, plaster your roof with solar panels, and every surplus we will take and we will pay you for that, and drive that program. That would be really a low-hanging fruit that can be done very quickly, very easily. And that is really what I'm asking, Eskom, NERSA, and so on, make a standard tariff for everybody to feed in. I know there is the Municipality Finance Act that inhibits a few of these things, but I mean, these things can be also changed and adopted, and make private people push energy back into the grid.
It's such an easy solution in the end, isn't it, Wido? And that's why I wanted to ask you, because I remember you and I talking about this a couple of years ago, and having spoken to those who are lucky enough to have solar, they were saying they want to do this, but it's very tricky. And that's why I wanted to ask you the question, Wido. And as always, you've answered brilliantly for us. And hope that all makes sense now for those who are wondering why it's so difficult to do. It should be easy, but we're not there yet. But energy analyst Wido Schnabel, quite right in the call for all South Africans as a standard, should be able to do that. Wido, as always, I appreciate your time in joining us this morning there.